So which concealer and foundation technique do you prefer? Concealer on top of foundation or concealer under foundation? I'm going to show you both so that you can decide which one you prefer, but I'm also going to show you the best possible way of achieving a seamless look no matter what technique you use. So let's get started. This is really about figuring out what is best for you. So I'm going to be showing you on one side foundation first, then concealer, and then on the other side we're going to be applying the concealer first and then the foundation on top. This side is underpainting and the other side is kind of like just, it's not really called anything. Like a lot of people use that technique, like they apply their concealer on top of the foundation. It really is down to what you prefer, but I'm here to show you the best possible like way to apply it so that you can get a seamless finish. Now I'm going to be honest, I personally prefer the underpainting effect because it gives you a soft focus finish. And I'm going to explain as we go along why. I'm not here to slate the other way of doing it because I still do it that way, especially on YouTube, just because I want to be able to appeal to everyone. Like, I don't want to only appeal to people who underpaint, you know? So let's get started. I've got all my skincare on. I've got a primer on. I'm going to go straight in. We're going to be applying foundation first on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a pump of this to the back of my hand. I've got my Sigma F85 brush and we're going to just kind of like apply this all over. Just swirl it over the skin. I'm going to try and do as neat as possible, like half a face, so that you can really see, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get it perfect. So I've just basically applied this foundation all over. This is 300 medium neutral, by the way, of the Haus Labs foundation. I don't even know if I mentioned that, but there you go. So we've got a layer of foundation there. Now, when you are applying your foundation before you apply your concealer, the good thing is you're going to get a little bit of coverage with that foundation. So it means that you won't necessarily go super heavy-handed with the concealer. But the problem with that is that your light shade, your concealer, is going on top, which is a lot more more coverage traditionally than your foundation, which means there's going to be a bit of a difference between where it all blends. So you've either got to be really, really good at blending or use the right shade so that it doesn't look so different to your foundation. And to be honest, if you're going to do it this way, it means that you shouldn't really go for a concealer which is ultra brightening, because it's just you're going to have that horrible effect which I've seen sometimes, especially on TV, where you can really see where the concealer is placed, and you shouldn't be able to see that. And that's the pro of underpainting, is that it kind of like everything is blended in and everything just looks soft focus and it just kind of peeks through that layer of foundation. But anyway, we're going to carry on and focus on this side because I still want you guys to be able to achieve the most seamless finish, even if you do decide to do it in this way. So the concealer that I'm going to use is my Guerlain Terracotta Concealer in 2.5 medium. I'm going to go ahead and apply this where I need it. You obviously apply however much you feel that you need, but it really is up to you. Now, I am going on the assumption that a lot of people kind of like apply it in those areas, the same places that I'm going to apply it. Just the traditional places that you would apply it when you're kind of sculpting as well. I'm going to be applying it in the exact same places on the other side, by the way, but obviously my foundation will go on top. Just make sure we've got a nice even layer. We're going to leave out the nose for this because obviously I feel like it's really difficult to see, especially when it's just half a face. Now we're going to get a damp beauty blender and I'm going to start just kind of like buffing this in. If you are going to be using a beauty blender, you really want to make sure that it is damp so that you don't get that kind of patchy finish. And also, like I said, don't go for a concealer which is ultra light. Like, this isn't too light. If I had gone with a concealer which is actually very light, you'll find that it will just look a little bit too white in those areas. So let's go ahead and do this under eye area. I personally much prefer underpainting, but you know, this is just personal preference really. And it's also what you find easier, I feel like, because that makes a difference too. You don't necessarily want to always go for the more difficult version. As you can see, it's a lot brighter, but you know, this is the way that I would blend it. Use a damp beauty blender, make sure that you've fully blended it in so that it doesn't look like it's super separate from the foundation. So now when it comes to actually setting this, you want to go in with your setting powder, and I'm going to be using my Makeup Forever Ultra HD powder in Light Banana. You can always warm this up with bronzer, which we will do after anyway, but I actually think that if you are going to apply your foundation and concealer in this way, it is quite important to use a bronzer after to warm everything up, because as you can see, everything does look a little bit brighter and whiter than the rest of my body. And the issue is you still want that brightness, but you just don't want it to look so different from the rest of your body, and you don't want it to kind of like look like it's separate to the foundation. Yes, to be honest, you could use a darker concealer if you didn't want it so bright, but the problem with that is you're not going to get that brightness. You're not necessarily going to get that coverage, like as in really kind of wipe out those dark circles. So it really depends what your priority is here, what you prefer to achieve. Let's make sure there are no creases on the under eye. We're going to get our powder puff. I'm using the Beauty Blender one. And I'm just going to press. You can either dust on the powder with a brush or you can press. I'm just going to press it on because I feel like it lasts way longer that way. And then you can get a brush and then just dust it off. A piece of advice I would give you, when you are blending everything in on the side where you've applied your foundation first and then your concealer, I would recommend using a setting powder which is kind of close to your skin color or complements your skin color. Like I use the Light Banana because it helps to give me that brightening effect, but it also isn't white. I would also make sure that when you apply your concealer on this side, don't let it sit for a little while before you start blending. I've seen that some people do that, and I have done that before myself as well, but it depends on the concealer. And honestly, that works, I would say, better when you are working on with the underpainting effect. Like if you want that kind, if you want it to be a little bit less fluid and you want it to be slightly more like thicker, like sets on your skin a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier to blend. I would personally do that when you know you're going to be putting foundation on top. If you do it on this side on top of foundation, you'll find that sometimes it can end up being just like looking a little bit more cakey. So make sure you do blend immediately. Don't wait around waiting for it to set a little bit. Now that we've applied powder, you can see it's settled down a little bit more. It's not so white, but it still could do with some bronzing powder. So let's go in and get a little bit of bronzing powder. I'm going to use my Fenty Sunstalker in Private Island and my Refa 18 brush. And let's now just add a bit of bronzer to the cheekbones just to kind of like give some shape to the face. Just along the perimeter of the face. This will really help to warm up the face without you having to apply kind of bronzer directly on the cheeks or anything. Now, another little trick I want to show you, if you are applying things in this way where your concealer is on top of your foundation, what I would suggest doing is with your brush, you've got your bronzer on here, dab it once on a tissue paper, and then just kind of go over where you have applied your concealer, because what it does is it actually kind of like warms it up a little bit so it doesn't look so bright. It actually tones down that concealer a little bit, and I feel like that's going to be a real game changer for you. That's a great hack for if you're applying your concealer on top of foundation. I really want you guys to understand that there are little things that you can do afterwards that will really help that side, like that technique, that layering of foundation then concealer, to just look a little bit more kind of like softer. It doesn't look so harsh, it doesn't look like it's unblended. It is all about your blending, it is about the colors that you use, but it is also about how you finish it off. Like, how have you set it and have you applied any bronzer to just warm up the area so it doesn't look so white in certain areas. Moving on to the other side, this is how you apply your concealer first and then your foundation on top, which is basically underpainting. And hopefully this is gonna kind of convert you and you're gonna understand why this just works so well and how it actually isn't as difficult as it sounds. So, same thing, we started off with a clean base, we've got our primer on, and we're going to go straight in with our concealer. So I'm going to use the same concealer here. I'm going to apply it in the same places. So let's go ahead and apply this on the under eye area here. on the forehead. And then just a little bit on the chin. This smells really good. I didn't actually notice the scent before. It's not strong, but it's good. Okay, so the other place that we did apply it is here. There you go. Let's make sure we've got a decent amount here. I think I've applied as close as, like, more or less the same as the other side. We're gonna go ahead and blend this now. We've got our damp beauty blender and we are gonna start with the forehead and work our way down. So we're just gonna buff this in, but you don't actually have to focus on buffing, like getting rid of all of the edges. You can actually just do it roughly. That's the great thing about this, is it's not actually as technical as what people think. So let's just do that here. Do this. And this. So you can see I actually haven't spent as long blending this in as what I did on the other side. And we're really making sure we've got that nice coverage. Okay, so I can see it's a bit patchy, like I could see that on the other side as well, but I was blending it for a little bit longer. So now that we've done that, we want to go in with the foundation. Now at this point you can, if you want, use a kind of darker contour if you wanted to. That's up to you. I'm not actually contouring on this video, like as in with a dark shade, but I'm going to go ahead and apply that foundation. I've got one pump on the back of my hand, and this is where we're going to take a beauty blender, again damp. We are going to make sure that we buff that color into the like sponge before we actually go onto the face. And then we're gonna now apply the foundation on top. You really have to make sure that the foundation is a kind of light to medium coverage, and you have to make sure that it is a color which is not too light for you, that it is kind of close to your natural skin color. So we're gonna work our way down, go over this area here. So we're basically just patting it on top. And the great thing is you just want a thin veil. You don't want it to be kind of like, you know, really thick foundation. You only need the smallest amount because you kind of done your coverage with the concealer. I personally love the way that this kind of ends up looking. I just feel like it's a lot more soft focus. It doesn't look all separated to me. Now we're going to go in with our powder, and we're going to apply the same powder in the same way. So we're going to dip into this powder here and just press it on. See how you don't have to worry about the blending so much. Now all you're going to do is dust off this powder, and you're not even going to need to apply bronzer in areas to warm it up. You just apply it wherever you feel that you need it, like to either bronze up the face or contour the face. I don't know if you can see a difference there, but I personally feel like I much prefer this side. It's a lot more soft focus. It doesn't look like, okay, yeah, it's white under here, although I did warm that up with a bronzer. And I feel like it's a bit more kind of uniform. It's a bit all, like, it just flows better. It's very kind of fluid in terms of the color. Like, I don't feel like there's any patchiness. I feel like the under eye area looks way better on this side. Like, that in itself is a big plus for me. Like, if I can get the under eye area to look seamless, then why would I not use that technique? So now we're going to apply a little bit of bronzer. We're going to go with the same bronzer, but I'm not going to be applying it to the under eye because I feel like I honestly don't need it. I don't know about you, but I genuinely feel like it just isn't needed there. I feel like we can just apply it to the cheekbone here, just to kind of like bring that out a bit, and that's it. I just want to do my lips so that you guys can see what this whole finished kind of like it looks like on both sides basically. So I'm just going to use my, I think I've got a little bit of lip balm on. I'm going to use my lip pencil in Iconic Nude by Charlotte Tilbury. I'm just going to do a neutral lip. I actually don't know what lipstick I've got on, but it actually looks good, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's lipstick or if it's like I think it's just like a tinted lip balm. Let's apply this one. This is the Prada Monochrome Soft Matte in P155. This is like a pinkish color. And just to add a little bit of color. Then you can see what it looks like with a lipstick on. I am just gonna blend this in. And then just blot. I like that. So what do you think? If you look at this side, I have made it look the best I possibly can make it look, considering the concealer is on top of the foundation. And I feel like not everyone is obviously gonna like apply it in this way. They may not get the best results when they apply it in this way. But I really wanted to show you that this is the way I would apply it. And these are the little things, little tricks and tips that I would do to actually help this side. Whereas on this side, I feel like, personally, I feel like my under eye looks way better. I do admit that they're small differences, you know? It's not like, oh my God, she's definitely underpainted or she definitely hasn't underpainted. How do you want your makeup to look? Do you want it to look softer? Do you want it to have more of a soft focus effect? Or do you want it to look a little bit more harsh? Do you want to have to work harder to blend? So I really hope that you've kind of like understood that underpainting isn't a difficult thing. It really isn't as complicated and technical as what I feel like the name suggests. Even though it is something that makeup artists have used for years, it isn't something that only pros can do, you know? It's something that you can very easily do yourself. Hopefully I've made it super simple to understand and it's kind of been made clear. Just remember the main tips about doing it on this side, like the concealer first and then the foundation, is making sure that you use a light to medium coverage foundation, because otherwise you're just gonna cover everything up. Or if you want, you can use a more fuller coverage foundation, but if you're gonna be contouring underneath, then you're not gonna see any of that if you put a full coverage foundation on top. And when it comes to this side, when you're applying the concealer on top, I feel like you can kind of apply whatever foundation you want to apply. If you apply more of a full coverage foundation, you probably will not have to use such a full coverage concealer on top. And I would honestly suggest that if you're going to do it in this way, then make sure that your concealer is not too much lighter than your foundation, because that is where you can really get that horrible finish where I've seen it recently on TV and it looks awful, where it's just not, it's just the concealer is so white in comparison and then you can see the contour. It's almost like someone's done the whole contouring thing and just forgot to put foundation on. It's not good. It genuinely isn't good. So I really hope that you've seen how you can make this look better, and it's given you an idea on underpainting and made you figure out whether you want to do it that way or not. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comments below, and also everything is listed in the description, so you can just head on over there and click on the links and it will take you straight to it. I also have an online publication called the Beauty Breakfast Club, and this is an online publication where I write everything myself. There are articles that go live every week, a good minimum of 3 every week. And you have 2 versions of kind of viewership on there. So you've got one subscriber option, which is free, which gives you access to most of the site. And then you've got the other subscriber version, which is paid. And honestly, it's the equivalent of buying 1 coffee a month. It's honestly not a lot. So head on over, show your support, and that full paid subscriber version actually gives you access to the entire site. But the best thing about it, other than getting an extra newsletter a week, is that we actually have a chat room. So we all chat. I'm there, all the other paid subscribers are there, we all get to know each other, and it's actually a really nice community that we're building over there. I would love for you to join it too. And there are some nice kind of beauty articles there as well, stuff that maybe will kind of like register better because they're written and you know, detailed in a different way. It's one thing kind of like seeing and hearing someone say something, but another thing when you read it. So, you know, it's really about what appeals to you more. But I hope you do enjoy it over there. Please show your support, because I would truly appreciate it. And if there's any kind of other videos that you want to see, like problem solving, like are there any kind of like issues that you have, like that you really wish you knew how to do a certain technique, or if there are any kind of like makeup looks that you want to see, the more comments I get on a specific look, the more I'm going to be able to see it and do it. I really do appreciate you guys, and thank you so much for your support on my channel, because it does not go unnoticed. Honestly, I read all of your comments. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care, and I'll see you soon.